What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I'm, of course, Jimmy, and we are broadcasting live from Filey. So it's done, innit? It's done. Blades are officially relegated. The worst team in the league this year. I mean, that game, where do you start with that game? I tweeted at half-time something about great half, lads, led by a young, superstar Ollie Arblaster. I thought we had a brilliant first half. We could have been 3-4-1 up and then absolutely capitulate in the second half. Don't get it. I still think we did ourselves proud in terms of how we kept going and how we were going forward and how we were breaking, but the defence is just atrocious. And like Vinny Souza came on, but I don't think you can attribute today to Vinny Souza. Obviously, Norwood didn't come on today. We're just not good enough. We're not good enough, and we haven't been for some time. I think if you look at it on paper, there's not much difference between Eke and Wilder, but football's not played on paper. If you just look at the results, it doesn't tell you the full picture. I still strongly believe that we have an identity under Chris Wilder. That gives me enough hope and enough optimism for the closed season and the rebuild that's going to have to take place now. That gives me enough optimism that he has an idea of where we are and what we need. I completely trust him as the man to lead us on this rebuild. But I know after today's performance, and obviously the performances leading up to today, not necessarily performances, but certainly results, which haven't been good enough. Yeah, let me know what you think. I mean, Robinson came back today, which was a bonus, but obviously it's difficult, isn't it? I don't want to dig any players out. I think I'm starting to feel more positive about, or I certainly was at half-time, positive about the team going into next year than on the day we got relegated. So it's a really weird situation to be in. I just, how do you feel? How do you feel? I mean, at the end there, with the penalty, we concede a penalty to Newcastle. All right, you can argue it's a 50-50, but once it's given, it's never going to get overturned. Exactly the same thing happens in their box, and it's overturned. I don't get it. And if there's anybody, and I know there are people that follow us and support us strongly that are involved in the game, and if anybody wants to give a referee's perspective, they're more than welcome to come on. I'm not one of these that thinks if it wasn't for the refs, Sheffield United would be in with a fighting chance of staying up this year. I just don't think that's true. I think there's too much of a gap between the promoted three, and I don't know how any other results have gone on today. I haven't had a chance to look, but I'd be shocked if Luton and Burnley both won. I'm sure they didn't. I'll check that in a bit, but yeah, I think the gap's just too big, and that's ultimately what it is. If Forest and Everton had not had the points deducted, it had all been done and dusted a long time ago. So, yeah, and I know Wendy's have got a result because that's been popping off in Rambler's chat. So, Steel City Derby next season, strongly looking that way anyway. I was sort of pleased last night that Leeds kind of messed it up, but that's with me having a load of Leeds mates and to sort of stumble because it's funny. But my head tells me we want Leeds out of that league. We want Leicester out of that league. We want Southampton out of that league. And now it looks like it's going to be one of Leeds or Southampton probably. Because next season, you could be looking at us, Luton, Burnley. We're starting on -2, remember. Leeds United. And if it's not Luton, it could be Forest, which isn't great because, let's be right, they're going to be stronger than us. So, let me know your thoughts. I think I was hoping today would end up feeling like I know a lot of people who've gone to Newcastle today, and I was hoping for a bit more of a jovial atmosphere, even if we did get relegated. And I think if we'd have narrowly lost it 2-1 and we end up obviously getting confirmed to be relegated today, then I think people will be okay. And in some ways, it may feel like a relief that we've actually confirmed it because we're in. My plan today was to come on at half time. I'm thinking I'm all right with this, and even if we get beaten, it's confirmed today. We can turn it into a positive. We can start thinking about Well, now we definitely know what league we're in. So we definitely know how to approach as play. We can sort out contracts earlier. We can look at the players we're identifying and have talks with him earlier. We can get a head start, if you like. And because of the way the second half went, it just, you feel like, it just completely zaps all sort of good faith out here, because with Sheffield United, never going to be the best team in the world. We say this all the time, never going to be the best team in the league, but always going to put up a fight. And I think we put up a fight today, but I just think we're so far off it. Getting beat 4s and 5s every week. It's demoralising, isn't it? You can't say anything other. I'm going to jump straight into your comments. There is a link in the comments at the top of the pinned comment at the top is a StreamYard link. If you want to participate and jump on, and you can do. I'm going to jump into your comments, and I'm going to jump on to some of the first callers that have joined us. So thank you to those that are waiting. We won't be long. We are kindly sponsored, as always, by Action Coach Sheffield for this video. Let's hope that, we can continue working together next season. And also VMB Auto Centre. So thank you to those for sticking with the channel and supporting the channel. We've got some exciting things coming up, but hopefully this is ground zero. This is the bottom that we're going to be at. And from here, Sheffield United start to rise up again. We will be back. We will be back. I've no doubt about that. But when is a big question, isn't it? Justin starts us off tonight. Good evening, pal. It's actually a disgrace how unfit we are and how weak we are mentally. You can't lose 5-1 after being the better team and being 1-0 up. Yeah, Wilder has a big job on. Yes, he does. Up the blades, up the ramble. Thank you, pal. Yeah, the fitness is a huge concern for me. I think it's a mixture, like you've touched on here, of being unfit and a weak mentality with no leaders in this squad. I mean, the fact that we've got the armband on a 20, I think he's 19, actually. Somebody corrected me in comments. I thought he was 20. He's coming up to 20. So we've got a teenager with armband on, who's the player that's most fit to lead our team. Now, as great as that is for Ollie Arblaster as an individual, what a sad state of affairs it is for us as a club and the other 10 on the pitch that are being led by a kid, essentially, who's outperforming a lot of them. So leaders required. Big job on, like you say. Bri, good evening, mate. Well, at least we're out of this corrupt league. Where's Blaster Diaz done well? Don't take chances like we had to be at least 3-1 up, and this is what happens. Up the blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. Evening, Brian. Hi, Jimmy and Prince Abdullah. After a really good first half, we should have been 4-1 up. It was calamity time again. Second half, heads and discipline went up the blades. I completely agree, Bri. Heads and discipline again. I think we'd looked really well disciplined as well, really sort of well drilled first half. We looked organised, we looked compact and hard to break down. And then we just capitulated, didn't we? Again, because the players aren't good enough. In glimpses they are. I think Hamer's settled really well and played a lot better under Wilder, in my opinion. Arblaster's obviously come into the team and massively improved, as I thought Brooks looked good today. His best of the 3 performances that he's had in recent weeks, in my opinion. But we haven't got the depth then. I saw some stick on our group for Archer. I saw it, Paul, and I'll come to it, mate. But I thought Archer played well, to be honest. I know he missed a couple that he should have maybe done a touch better with, but at least he's getting in those positions. I, for one, will not miss this league. Yeah, we aren't good enough, but how corrupt is the Premier League? It's not great, is it? It's not great. I'd probably stop one short of saying it's corrupt, but it's certainly not anything. It's not fun to be involved with at the moment. It's just not. It's not enjoyable. Evening, Ian. Hello, pal. Good evening, mate. Only 3 more to go. Can't even get upset anymore with them. Roll on the summer, up the blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. I think we can stay up next season. Up the Ramble, says Jared. Yeah, let's hope so, pal. Let's hope so. Yeah, of course we will. We'll give it a good go next year. I'm sure we will. We weren't clinical. We had so many chances to be more than 1-0 in front. But if you don't take chances at this level, you won't win football matches. And we've made the wrong signings. Yeah, there's been some poor signings, Sam. Absolutely right. Completely agree with you, mate. Hi, Jimmy. It's finally over. Out of the corrupt league. Isak is first offside. Isak's first He's offside. Penalty is a joke. Brooks gets levelled, not even a free kick. Brilliant Wes again. Up the blades, up the ramble, like and subscribe. Love all this positivity to steer people our way to subscribe. I think we're 17 away now from 4K. So not far at all. We're very close. And also, sorry, because I didn't actually spot that comment before I put it on screen. So apologies to anybody that's offended. But yeah, very, very close. We're hoping within about the next week or 10 days or so, we'll have a studio. So whether we're in there or not is a different thing. But on personal news for the Ramble, we are going places. So Scott, apologies again. I can't highlight comments that swear, but thank goodness that's over. He says, never wanted to be out of this this corrupt league more than this. Let's focus all about next season and a summer ahead. Up the blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, mate. Bri, I won't miss VAR, that's for sure. Good riddance to it. Chris had them all in the middle of the pitch at the end of the game. Did he? Right, I didn't see that. I've just jumped straight on. I'd have ideally liked to have gone after he's had his post-match interview. So if anybody gets wind of what he says in post-match, drop them in comments or come on and have a chat with me about it. But yeah, we're going early because we all just want to sort of get it out, don't we, and sort of react immediately. Jack, and that's it. We're down. Say bye-bye to the players and let's get some good quality for money players in. We'll be seeing Wednesday at this rate. Let's hope our squad is ready. I'm sure it will be. We've been planning this for some time. I know that Wilder definitely, legitimately believed that we could stay up. That wasn't just rhetoric. So up until probably the Brentford game, he was genuinely convinced we had a chance. And so they were planning for two scenarios. Now, post-Brentford, there's only been one scenario to plan for, and we can sort of take that and run with it now, can't we? Time for Wilder to go, says Happy Chappy. Prince needs to go. The whole board needs to go. They sold this club down the river. Okay, mate. Not a very happy chappy this evening. Obviously, while there is a change we can make, I would not be an advocate of that, but some will. The Prince is trying to sell, as you're aware. So we need an appropriate buyer, and be careful what you wish for is probably all I'd say, looking at the past two that have attempted to take the club over. We could have been on a really sticky wicket if those hadn't been stopped. The whole board needs to go. Well, that will potentially come with a takeover. It may not. So watch this space, but there's not an awful lot that can be done in the short term around that. As soon as we concede a goal, says Bean, we crumble. As was decent before they scored. Yeah, we were. I can't believe we're going to concede 100 goals. How do you think we change the mentality when we concede? I don't think we can. I think this squad is done. I think when we played Man U and sort of the manager had come out and said, we're pretty much relegated and that's it now, which we'd all acknowledged, and that wasn't defeatist, that was realist. I think we sort of started to play with a bit of freedom. And against Man U, I thought we played well. I enjoyed the game, but we still weren't good enough. We conceded 4 goals. And I think today we started really well. The first half, no complaints from anyone. I think the team that he's put out the last 2 games is a really strong team in terms of no McBurney. And I don't mean, no Norwood, no Souza, no Gerbic, and, no LaRucci, no matter how many people think he's done okay in recent times. Are we going to be upset to lose all 5 of those? No McAtee. And to be honest, I thought we were the better side in the first half. So with all that said, changing a few bodies and a few players for younger, hungrier players, not necessarily younger in terms of Wes, obviously, but he's certainly hungry to make an impression now. He's got a point to prove. Arblaster, chest out, captain. Brooks wants to keep his place. I thought Archer came in and did a good job. Brereton Diaz is probably going to stay in the Premier League next season if he don't go back to Villarreal. So yeah, there's what, 3 games left. We will cut our losses now. And whether he plays the kids for the last 3 games, I think it's a moot point, really. I think it's going to be a completely different team next season. So we'll change the mentality because it'll be a different group. That's personally my opinion. Please, we're relegated at last, says Chris. And how daft does that sound? Even though I'm with you, How daft does that sound to say out loud? Never thought I would say that. I really hate the Prem. Onwards and upwards, up the blades, up the ramble. Please like and subscribe. Thank you. Yeah, it's an often used phrase, but it's so true. The journey is so much better than the destination. And when you get to the Premier League, yes, we know that clubs need to be in the Premier League for the finance to allow us to continue to compete. But being in the Championship is so much more fun. It's such an unpredictable league. You go into every game feeling like you've got a chance. Not in this league. You know, it's just so, the levels are so wide. We've no chance of giving it a good go this league. But the other thing I wanted to mention, and again, it sort of steers to the point I should probably write stuff down before. I like to just ramble. But this and I suppose it's a little bit of not a pop at Wilder, but it's certainly a criticism. I think certainly under Eki, and when Wilder first came back, and also whilst Wilder's been sort of trying to balance us out a little bit, we've been a very defensive team. We've sort of set up to, you know, let's block them off. Like Wilder would come out and say, if you have a go at Brighton and open up, then you'll just you'll get done because they're better than us at that. Well, the alternative is sort of trying to keep it tight as we can and then try and nick a goal. Hate that for us. Yes, we're probably going to be the second best team in most games. But for the first half today, you'd probably change man for man every player for a Newcastle player in our squad. Having said, apart from Arblaster and Heyman maybe. But having said that, we took it to them. We were brave, and there were signs and shades of the 1920 Premier League team in that first half for me. We didn't play the same style with the overlapping centre-backs, but the determination and the attitude, the approach to the game was very similar, as in, no fear. What have we got to lose? Let's just go at them. And by having that attitude, that sort of take no prisoners. If they beat us, they'll beat us. But let's go and show them what we've got as well. We gave the best account of ourselves. Got undone second half. I think fitness comes into that. I think mentality comes into that when we concede. But the approach to just go at them rather than sit back and soak up the pressure and try and nick one is so much better for us. And it's so much more Sheffield United. I know people have been sort of saying it's, you know, are we a 4 at the back team? Are we this? Are we that? We're a 3-5-2 team. And yes, he's going to change the personnel, so that might change next season. He might have a different vision for the club going forward. But with these players, we are a 3-5-2 team. And we play best when we're attacking and when we're sort of countering teams and going at teams. Ricky, good evening, mate. I thought we played well for 60 minutes. Again, the defence collapsed. Yeah, it did. Wayne, good evening, mate. Right now, Jimmy, I have zero confidence for next season. Knee-jerk reaction, I know, but it's the way I feel. Yeah. He says, up the Ramble, like and subscribe, folks. Wilder blaming the sandwich again, says Larry. I hadn't heard out, so I assume that's just a little bit of bants. Still have great hope for next season, says Chris, which is a contradiction to Wayne, isn't it? But this is how it's got us feeling. Some will be nervous, some will be excited. I know Dave Leary, I was talking to him last night, really excited for next season. Excited to be in a league that's competitive again, that he thinks, obviously, the summer will shape that, but I think it's a chance to draw a line and go again, potentially. We'll rebuild next season, says Sajan. Absolutely right. Not Wilder's fault. Players are poor. I lean a little bit that way, Jamie, but he has to take his share, and he will. And by me sort of even saying that sort of opens up a whole raft of what sort of no better captured by the last comment that I'll read before we move on to our first caller than the train that's never late. Good evening, David Webster. Clueless Chris strikes again. Sack him now. How do Blades think, just in 2 comments there, tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? But that's what it's about. That's why we're here. That we're a platform that wants to hear different opinions. And the first opinion I'm going to get tonight in person is from our boy Rob. How's it going, mate?
Not too bad, Jimmy. You?
Yes, I'm all right. Thank you, pal. I'm okay.
Enjoying
I'm starting
finally
to feel a little bit. Yes, it's all right, mate. Tar. It's all right. It's not too bad. Yeah, just disrupted by a bit of poor football, unfortunately. So, well, 45 minutes of poor football. So, what's your thoughts? Are you angry after that game in sort of like a snapshot, or are you angry about the season, or are you a little bit more big picture, relieved? Let's sort of go again. What's your mindset at the minute, pal?
Big picture. Always big
Good
picture.
lad.
We're built on sustainability. That's what we want. Only good thing about today is we're not getting relegated next week to Scabs.
Absolutely right. That'd have been horrendous. Forest to relegate us at Bramall Lane would have been, especially after the back and forth I've had with them FFP TV lads. Yeah, Obviously, so that is every cloud.
Yeah, with VAR as well. That's shocking. With Bogle's penalty getting overturned, same challenge. Then you look at Man United game with free kick against, was it Brooks when he megged him and he couldn't get out of that way?
It were Trusty. Trusty couldn't move.
Yeah. Trusty, shocking refereeing. But no, I went on about it earlier. We need 2 keepers. I said that to you midweek on your warm-up.
Yeah.
I think Jackie Longthrow, main centre-back, Trusty left centre-back. I'd play Ozzy at left wing-back next season until RND comes back. There's midfield 3, Brooks, Aimer, Blaster, or Tom Davis, who's going to walk that championship next season. The only concern is scoring goals.
Okay.
We've got
a fair concern.
Do you think McBurney stays? I don't want McBurney to stay. I don't want McBurney to stay because we've had BBD and he's an upgrade on McBurney. He actually runs. McBurney don't.
Yeah, I didn't miss McBurney at lineup today at all. I don't think. No. I think Archer did a lot of running. I'm not. I'm a big Archer fan, as everybody knows. I'm not sort of going to change my stance on it, and I don't think he's quite done the business for us this year. He's not always been available, to be fair, but I'd much rather have somebody like that who's a willing runner and does have a threatening shot and sort of poses some danger to defenders. Commentators said that Shah came off at half time because he couldn't live with Archer and BBD link up. So no, I'm not sure.
I'd love to have them both back. I'd love to have them both back. If we could get one of them back, I'd prefer Archer. Just for running behind.
Right. Yeah, I think some would. I would agree with that, but I think others would disagree with us. I think we're going to struggle, to be honest, and that's just my honest opinion. But we are going to have to look at players of that ilk on loan to give us that chance, because, like you say, I think we'll be strong throughout the pitch, because I think we've got to. Well, we'll strengthen goalkeeper. We haven't got a keeper that's going to be playing for us. We may well lose a Nell. We'll have to strengthen a little bit in defence. I think the midfield 3, like you've said, if we can keep all of them, we're laughing, absolutely laughing. And it's just striker that we need. It's going to make or break us really on who comes in. So yeah,
but we've got 5 loans, haven't we? So we've got options there.
Yes, we have. That's right. And I think probably my instinct is that we will try and permanently strengthen the defence, because it's less outlay to spend on defenders, and then we'll try and loan in some quality strikers. I may be wrong, but that's just my first instinct.
And going back to fitness, we've had that many injuries that we've had to keep playing the same players. So they're going to get tired eventually over this season. Yeah,
that's right.
I mean,
that's right. And we're chasing the ball most games, aren't we, as well? We are. We've got a small squad, and the quality just isn't there to sort of, when we're bringing on Vinny Souza, who we've pretty much acknowledged is really poor, and Wilder will know it too. But we're having to bring him on because we've nobody else to bring on. So that shows how thin we are squad-wise.
Yeah,
so
big time.
Okay, pal. Well, thank you for your call. Very much appreciated. Anything else you want to cover before I let you go?
No, that's pretty much it, mate. Just optimistic for the future.
Nice one, bud. Well, thank you for calling. And I may well see you before Forest next week, if you're about.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I might have to get public skip before match. All right, mate. Ta-da.
See you soon. Cheers, pal. I'm going to jump into our next call, which is Billy Wiz. How's it going, pal?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm trying to be all right because look, it's the story of our season. What's happened today, innit? We've lost, but we've not just lost. We've capitulated. So
pretty much. Yeah, I don't know.
What's your thoughts, mate? Where's your head at?
You'd be lying if you said you weren't good, wouldn't you? But at the same time, we've been down all along, haven't we? Really, we've known it. Really, we've wanted to believe at different points, but we've known pretty much all season that we're going down. So you know, logically, the logical part of my brain is sitting with that. The emotional part of my brain is gutted, but it is what it is at the end of the day, isn't it?
It is, mate. It is, and like you said, I think a lot of us accepted it a long time ago. So it's certainly not a shock that we've been confirmed as relegated today. It's just I was hoping I'd feel a little bit more relieved once it happened. I thought, right, once it's done, we know we everything is assured, and we can just sort of reset our focus, and the rebuild starts today. But it's been more like a damp squib like that. What an absolutely shocking season we've had.
Like being put out of your misery, finally.
Yeah. I thought it'd be more like that, but I'm just more disappointed that we haven't. Like it's probably like we were saying on last call we had together. We are probably going to look back at this season and say, somebody might stay up on 36 points or something like that, and you think if we'd have only been a little bit better, we could have really had a go at staying up, even though we didn't deserve to. So it's just disappointing how it's turned out. But look, we'll dust ourselves down. We've had worse defeats than this. We've played a lot worse than this.
Yeah,
and we'll go again. And I think putting a good performance in next week against Forest at home is really important. I'm confident that we'll sign off quite well, even if we don't, get a result against Tottenham on last game. I'm confident that we'll go out okay, and I just think we'll look positive going into close season, like it is a fresh start. Like
there's something positive for you. There's something positive for you. So goals conceded, you mentioned it in your intro. Goals conceded under Hecky was 2.6 a game. Under Wilder it's 2.7, so very comparable. Goals for
what a shocking stat, by the way.
But goals for under Hecky is 0.68 something. Under Wilder it's 1.2, so it's almost twice as good.
Yeah.
So that's it. So I agree with what you said at the beginning. Just on the eye test alone, between both boxers, we're much better. We're playing much better football. But in front of their goal, there's clearly a bit of confidence there. I think that came in when BBD came in and formed that little bit of a partnership with McBurney. I think there's confidence up the top end of the pitch that, okay, it's not clinical. That's a separate issue almost. But there's at least some confidence in the squad that we're going to get chances. We're going to create something. Clearly, where the issue is in this squad is as soon as they concede, there's absolutely no mentality whatsoever in that back line that says, that's it. Put that out your mind. Put that to the back of your mind. I mean, it's kids stuff, isn't it, really? We've both played football as kids. Like, you get told minute one, like, as soon as you concede, you put the ball down in the centre circle, switch it off, put it out your mind. It's 0-0, you go again. These defenders aren't capable of doing that. So I think the biggest thing for us now going forward, and this is a positive, I think, is that if we can change the personnel in that group, if we can get Egan back in there, if we can get Baldock back in there, if we can get that leadership back in there, plus a couple of new figures, like I know people are whinging about being linked with like frees and loans and stuff, and the rumour mill started already. But someone like Ashley Phillips is like, that's kind of, we want like a youthful ball playing defender centre back in there to complement someone like John Egan and Jack Robinson in that back line. I think that's the kind of thing that we can be positive about, because I think if we get, I'm not really worried about the rest of the squad. If we get a good keeper and we sort that back five out, I think we'll be fine.
I completely agree, by the way. I think you know that we're on a similar wavelength with stuff like this. We lack leaders in this team, which is something we've banged on about for ages. And I think whilst John Egan isn't a shouting and roping leader where he'll, you know, it's like blood and sweat and tears for the badge and everything, whilst he's still a committed defender, I see him as an organizer. And I think we're much worse off.
He's a talker. He's a talker. That's what he is.
Absolutely right. I think we're weaker without him to tell somebody when to go or tell somebody when to drop in. And Trusty, you go to your man there because I've got you covered here. Yeah. We haven't got that sort of communication along the back line. Yeah. And we've been linked with, like you say, free transfers and loans. And just peeking behind the curtain of how I get my kicks sometimes is Leeds obviously fell apart last night. Yeah. And me being a West Yorkshire boy with loads of Leeds fans, I like to sort of try and sort of dip into their misery and see how they're going, see how it is for people who thought that they were going to. So I tuned into the Just Joe football show, and shout out to Joe, who was a great host and obviously a huge Leeds channel. And I like watching Joe because he's so emotionally involved. And he you know, sometimes he's up and the best team in the world and they're going to go up, and this is a typical Leeds fan really. And other times he hates them all. I hate them. They're rubbish. Sack them all. Well, they were the reason for my tangent that I'm telling you this. They were saying they got smashed by QPR last night because they had no leaders on the field, and they were crying out for somebody like Luke Ayling. Those were their words. As a Leeds supporter, they were crying out for Luke Ayling. So we have been linked with Luke Ayling. Whether there's any legs to that, we're not entirely sure. But it's those sort of players that might seem underwhelming to to the naked eye.
Yeah.
But how valuable would a Billy Sharp have been in the dressing room this season? How valuable would a Chris Basham have been? You know, I know Basham's still at the club, but he's not been in because he's been injured. So just a voice in the dressing room of somebody who's been there, done it. Yeah. So some of these players that we're linked with might not be standout names. And we've also got to remember our biggest flaw at the moment, yes, like I've just said to Rob, we're going to have to really get the attack right. We're going to have to get the strikers bang on. But our fundamental position to strengthen is defence. And defenders are not glamorous signings. They're not like Hollywood positions.
No, they're not. And also it's like, this is where like you got to give a shout out to David Webster, because he's in the chat giving it big one about Wilder signings and stuff. And look, you can say like in the Premier League, a lot of them haven't worked out. But look what he did with people like Jack O'Connell. Look what he did with John Egan. Yeah. Look what he did with Basham. None of these players, David McGoldrick, none of these players, when they came, all of us were saying the exact same thing we're saying about Luke Ayling now.
Yeah.
We were all saying, why are we signing him? He's rubbish. He's never done anything. He's played for this. He's on a free. He's a loan. He's this. He's that. And it all worked out in the end, didn't it? So I think we've got to give a little bit of leeway with these rumours as well, on top of what you were saying, just because I think let's just wait and see.
Absolutely. And that's it, isn't it? And they may turn out to be busts. It may be a case of Ayling comes in and he's well past his prime and it's been a poor signing. If he comes in at all, we've been linked with like Paddy McNair that he's worked with at Middlesbrough, who can slot into that right centre-back role. It's not something that gets you off your seat and you say, yes, get him in, it's brilliant. But if it's a solid championship signing that makes our squad better, then we've improved by bringing him in. So if he's an upgrade on somebody like a Trusty, and I know they're playing opposite sides, but if we're upgrading, then I don't know. Who have we got underneath Anel at the minute to come in at right centre-back? You'd be playing Holgate there potentially. If you don't want to sign Holgate, would you sign Paddy McNair instead for a free? Maybe. I don't know. We've got to be realistic with where they are, don't we?
We've got to be careful with our budget as well, haven't we? Because, as many positions as you can fill competently with frees and loans allows you to splash that money on a striker, on someone who's going to get you 20 plus goals. If you can find someone. So you've got to think of it that way as well, in that the squad does need rebuilding. The squad probably does need 5-6 starters and then the squad players on top of that. So you've got you've got a small budget, so you've got to spread it.
And would you rather we were bringing in players for 5 to 10 million quid, but to fund it, we had to sell Ollie Arblaster and Gus Hamer? Do you know what I mean? Because I think,
isn't it? Yeah, exactly. You've got to.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah, of course you have. Of course you have. Because we could splash the cash, but we need to get the cash from somewhere. So there's talk about selling Anel and Sousa, which is great, but that might just fund the wages for expensive loans and minimum fee transfers. If we want to bring in a £10 million player, we might have to sell Ollie Arblaster for 20 or something like that. And you think, actually, I'd rather keep that young absolute superstar in the middle of our team and build around him. So sometimes it's not about who you bring in, it's about who you keep as well. So that's true. Interesting, mate.
And the other thing I will say is, before I let you go, is I think a lot of the doom and gloom, talking about bigger picture like your first caller, a lot of the doom and gloom I think comes from, I think people are constantly forgetting the drop in quality. We are terrible in the Premier League, no question. Yeah. But if we play like that first half for 90 minutes in the Championship, we'll beat most of the Championship.
The problem we win every game if we can sustain that level. We're not going to, obviously, but that is a level higher than the Championship that we were playing first half.
100%. And the problem will be, like you said, if Leeds stay down, if Burnley and Forest come down, that's when it might get tricky up the top end. That's when you might be fighting in the, that's where your challenge might come from. But if you can sustain that first 45-minute performance for most weeks, you'll be laughing. The Championship is such a poor league in terms of quality. I think we forgot that a little bit. So that's something to bear in mind as well, like, in terms of the bigger picture. I do think we've been terrible, no question. But I think terrible translates to all right in the Championship, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It translates to like a 6 out of 10 in the Championship. You know what I mean? And most weeks that's enough.
To an 8 and we're laughing.
Exactly. A few additions, a few new faces, a good pre-season. We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Right. I just want a yes or no out of you, mate, before I let you know. Let you go, sorry. Ollie McBurney, are you keeping him? Yes or no?
Yes, but I'll caveat. Well, am I allowed a caveat?
Go for it, mate.
The one caveat is only if we can get him on some kind of pay-to-play type deal. Or some kind of deal that is balanced in the club's favour in terms of incentives. Let's put it that way. Okay. Because I don't think we can justify being a top earner and only playing like 15 games this season.
Completely agree. Like he has done. Yeah, nice one. Cheers, Bill. Very much appreciate it, pal. I'll speak to you soon.
Up the blades, up the Ramble, mate. See you later.
Top man. Cheers, Billy. One of our Ramblers, Billy, thank you very much, mate, for your contribution. As always, I'm going to jump into some more comments, and then Alls and Rich, you're next on my list. So thank you for joining us. Steve, Normal People Fitness Club, feeling relieved now it's done. Forfeit the next. So we've got a better goal difference than playing, and everyone gets on holiday and has a break. Yeah, nice, mate. Nice. Game over, says Cam, over the other side of the world. Hope you're okay, mate. After that game. Neither were penalties, says Pinder. Yeah, I could live with that if neither are penalties. I think both were looked outside box to me, for one. And just a tangle of legs, really. But if you give one, you've got to give the other. Mr. V, good evening, mate. Hope you're well. Wasted chances in the first half. Cost us the game today. I can't wait for the summer and a complete overhaul. Up the blades, up the Ramble. Yeah, me too, mate. Me too. I'm looking forward to the changes that are hopefully coming in. Well, that are coming. Chris, would have been nice just to have a level playing field regarding the refs and VAR. Yeah. Again, I think it leans towards the big boys. I don't think it's overtly corrupt. I'll be honest. I don't. I think there's maybe more subconscious pressure on refs that they feel towards the big boys, but I just don't think we get the rub of the green. And I think that's been accepted and expected for years. It's not right. It's not right, but it's like an unconscious bias rather than cheating, if you like. But I'll be much happier with no VAR next season. Much happier. That is a certain silver lining of going down. In better news, the under-21 women have beat Chelsea under-21s in the cup final. Oh, brilliant. Did not know that, in all honesty. I'm not very good at keeping up with The women's team I keep an eye on. The under-21s I keep an eye on. The male under-18s and the women's under-21s, I struggle to keep up with everything that we're doing. So that's good to hear. Thanks for letting me know, Ian. ADXMSW says, Adams. Anyway, I think we're going to be fine for next season. Looking forward to the rebuild. Hoping it's like 2016 again. Oh, we can only hope, can't we? Need players who want to play for the club and know what it means to us fans. Absolutely right. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you. Happy to dwell, says Steve, in the Championship and get a real rebuild done. Easy for me to say. Don't think Wilder is the man to... Moving on from Steve's ridiculous comment. I have mixed emotions, says Andy. The gap between the promoted teams is massive. I don't want us in the Prem again. Thing is, though, Andy, it's one of those sort of necessary evils, isn't it? And it's very unlikely, or it's getting more and more unlikely that you can establish yourself as a Premier League side without, FFP is there to stop you splashing the cash. We haven't had the cash anyway. But we can't maintain our status as a top Championship side without the finance and backing from the Prem, because, well, as each year goes on, you're under more pressure in the Championship to sell a league that a club can be sustainable in without really sort of diligently running your club and pulling out bargains every year and selling a star asset every year. Ronnie says, game of two halves. Absolutely right, it was. The defence was shocking in the second half. Yeah, it was. No excuses. Nothing to do with Wilder. Those Muppets crossed the line. It's down to them. I can't wait for next season. Can't wait for some of these so-called players leaving the club. So jog up the Blades, up the Ramble. Yeah, I think, as I say, some will lean towards Wilder being at fault. I don't really see that argument today, particularly. I mean, you can look at the substitutes. I don't think the subs did us today. Look at the first half of football and how well we played. And it was a complete 180 in terms of performance levels for the second half. And it was the same team. So I don't think you can point a lot of things at Wilder when it's the players' performance today that's done us. I criticised the substitutions last week. But today, I think you struggle to blame Wilder for that. I'll give you another chance, Steve. This was always the plan from the start. Get to the Prem, take the money, rebuild. Easy to say that at the start of the season, but living through 8-0, 6-0, 6-0, 5-0 has been tough. Yeah, it has, mate. It has. It has been really tough. It's one thing to sort of have that in your mind as that's the long-term plan for the club. And, if we stay up, it's a bonus. But at least we reset and we can sort of be stronger long-term, which is exactly what's happened, I think. But living through being so poor on the pitch has been really tough. We need to keep hold of our blaster, says Ronnie, just for a couple of years, 5, 6, 7 years, hopefully, mate. But look, you saw how class he was today. There was a point where he took the ball on the half turn and he dribbled past he took about 3 players out with one half turn. He's going to be some player. I think he could be the difference early on. And it's different being a centre midfielder to being a forward where, say, Illiman and Dye can impact the game directly by getting a goal himself, creating it out of nothing and getting it. I'm not saying Ollie's in the same bracket because he isn't yet. But Ollie Arblaster, yeah, he's going to be some player. And I just hope to God that we can keep teams at bay for now. Our season summarised, says Paul, is 90% of the Championship players competitive for 45 minutes. Defence crumbles after we concede. Substitutes make us weaker. They do. Obviously, your substitutes aren't supposed to be as, as not as good as, but they're not going to be your best players on the bench, are they? Unless they're recovering from an injury. But you'd hope that they're of a better standard than the ones that have been coming into our team because the squad's just not good enough. Newcastle are a tough team, says Larry. They are a tough team. They're a good team. I don't mind Newcastle. No ill feelings towards them, but they're just a much better team than us. Positives from the season are off the pitch. New training ground. Cat won. Bought the stadium, the ground around it. Got rid of the assets who didn't want to be here. Gained assets with long contracts. Absolutely right. When you talk about the business that the club has done, I think it's been really good. Really good. And we are now geared up to be much more sustainable long term. I think we're a much more attractive proposition to purchase. So I'm pleased with that aspect of it. I can't say any other. Oh, right, Brian, is that a Forest fan going very early to say they're not out of the woods yet? So see you next week, and we'll see how we go. Andy says, hopefully in a few years, the big 4 or 6 will form a Super League in Europe. See what happens to the Prem and TV money then. Up the Ramble, up the Blades. Like and subscribe, people. Hopefully, Andy, yeah, we can. Daft fans are out in force. Good evening, David. Good evening. The wilder sycophants with the blinkers on. Blink, blink. Yeah, blinkers. The playlist of excuses is endless. Never his fault. Always somebody else. Clueless Chris out. David Webster, I appreciate you, my friend. I appreciate you coming on, giving your honest opinion. Ronnie asks, why is David Webster so negative? Oh, Dave Webster. It's his opinion, mate. He's been adamant from the start that Wilder is not the man. He's stuck to it. If you look at the results on paper, as I've said, it's hard to argue that there's been an improvement. I would argue you need to watch the games to see the improvement. And obviously, Billy gave some stats which showed an improvement in terms of attacking output as well. Michael says, and I'm coming to our callers in a minute. Hi, Jimmy. We didn't deserve that. If we could finish, we would have probably been 4 or 5 up in the first half. But let's build for next season. We're so weak on the left. Up the Blades, up the right. Yeah, we are. Left wing back for me is one of the positions we are desperate for. How are you going to be back with an owner that doesn't give a decent budget? Do you seriously think he's going to part with the cash for next season? I don't know is the honest answer. And that's not me sitting on the fence or saying he will, or I honestly don't know. We know that Prince Abdullah wants support with the club to finance us to take us to the next level, whether that's through investment or a sale. That's not been a secret. Does that put him in a position where he's reluctant to invest? I think you look at the bits that Steve touched on around the ground and the infrastructure of the club, that would lead me towards saying no. It's still willing to fund the club and make it an attractive proposition. And if you're a businessman and you want to sell an asset as at the peak value that you're going to get for it, he's going to get a lot more money for a Premier League club or an aspiring Premier League club than he is for a mediocre Championship team. So if we end up signing average players and finishing 10th next season, he's going to lose a lot of money potentially compared to what he could get if we finish 2nd or 1st, believe it or not. So I would say there's a strong argument, Sid, for Prince Abdullah to invest, but we shall see. You know, it's proof will be in the pudding, won't it? So I'm going to bring our next caller on now, and that is Alls. How's it going, pal? You okay, mate?
Yeah. I'd just like to clarify a couple of things quickly before I get in full flow. First of all, if I randomly stop talking, it's because it's been lagging out a bit. I don't know if it's on my end or your end. I think it's on mine. And second of all, my picture is basically a word of saying always look on the bright side, because I got 120 points in last game week on FPL, so that's much more exciting than watching the Blades at the minute.
That's absolutely changed my mood 180. I'm absolutely delighted for you all. So congratulations on that magnificent achievement. Have you got your pizza tonight, or are we good to go? Are we going?
Right, I'm ready now. I'm ready to go.
Okay, mate. How are you feeling?
I'm not even going to talk about the game today. Talking about the past and the future. That's it.
Let's do
not
that then.
Even talking about. I've only just watched the highlights though, and how didn't Brooks, Archer, Diaz, and Holgate all score their chances? That's all I'm saying about that game. Should have drew 5-5. That's it.
Very true. Very true. Go on then, mate. Let's talk about the future then, or the past if you want to do that first. However you want to get into it.
Yeah. So.
Right. That could be a lag. That could be you dropping out. I think to be honest, it seems like there's a bad signal at All's end, but there will likely be a signal issue with me as well, to be fair, because of where I am. So I'll give you another.
I'm back.
Oh, he's back. Good.
No, I'm muted. I'm muted on purpose there.
All right. Oh,
right.
thanks for that. Thanks.
So, yeah, really, we got relegated in September, really, didn't we? But not mathematically. That when we played Newcastle for the first time, you could say it just drained the life out of all the players. You know, before that, you got Palace at home, Forest away, Man City at home, Everton at home, Tottenham away. Every single one of them games we could have won, and we were in every single one of them games, and we were quite unfortunate, really. But then, really, after that Tottenham game, it drained the energy out of us, and then we go against Newcastle, and that happens, doesn't it? That forbidden number, which I will not say, happened, and it just took the life out of us. Then after got West Ham 2-0, Fulham 3-1, Man United, Arsenal, Burnley, all them results, it just drained the life out of players. And to be honest, at that point, when the players, surely their mentality after, I think it was Burnley game when Eki got sacked, surely their mentality and confidence must have been at an all-time low, which is why I think we would have been best off bringing Warnock in. And nothing against Wilder, really, but because Warnock is a man motivator, he can get the best out of players, which is something what we've not seen this season. And I'm not saying keep him for like next just as an interim, because he's nearly 89, so he's getting on quite a bit, Warnock. But we've been just really on paper in terms of results. We've been pretty much worse with Wilder, but performance definitely better. But it don't matter about performance. You could have 1% possession of the ball and still win 1-0. And I'm sure you won't be bothered about the possession, will you? Be bothered about the points.
I don't think possession stats have changed that much, to be honest. So that's.
It's not just possession. I'm just using that as an example. It's everything, really. Yeah. Everything to do with performance.
Yeah, I mean, listen, mate, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm glad we didn't bring Warnock in. I certainly think Wilder's the man, as you know. I'm no secret about that. But
I 100% back him for future, 100%.
So Warnock, though, didn't he go into Aberdeen and absolutely bomb? Didn't he not won one game or something like that, and then got sacked up in Scotland? So
yeah, but maybe the thing is, though, with Warnock, with Wilder, he went to Middlesbrough and Watford, didn't he? And he didn't do too well. It's the thing I feel with Warnock and Wilder, especially because they supporters. It just, I don't know. It's just like it gives them that edge, and they're just better with Sheffield United.
I'm of the opinion personally that you don't have to be a blade, and I know you're not saying you do.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It just gives him that edge. Fine. But I think if it wasn't going to be Wilder, I would have preferred somebody like Steve Cooper, Liam Rosenior, earlier on, which sounds ridiculous now, but maybe was potentially a target, Kieran McKenna. I'm still over the moon with Chris Wilder. I think he's the one that knows the club inside out.
I love it myself.
And will be the one to rebuild us. So that's just my opinion, but others will have different opinions.
Now we need to focus on getting some of these contracts up. I think it's including loans, 17 contracts, not including loans, 13 contracts running out. And, you know, you've got some good players in there like Bogle, Baldock, Osborne. I know we've got options on some of these, but still, you know.
Yeah, we have. So,
and the fact that with McBurney as well, we bought him for 20 million and we're just letting him go for free as well.
Would you keep McBurney then?
Well, I mean, if I'm talking like Andy the Blade, 100% we're at fault. But I think in terms of being here next season, I'd have him. I'd try and get 2 years out of him. First year in Championship, and then second year, hopefully in the Premier League, I'd sell him. Just we can get something for him, you know. I don't want him to go for free, thinking financially, because that's just 20 million down the drain, really, isn't it? I mean, yeah, he scored quite a few goals for us, Which thank you, Ollie McBurney, because I know you'll definitely be watching this, but still, you want your money for it, don't you? You know.
You do want the money for it. You do. I mean, I would question: do you pay Ollie McBurney 40 grand a week when you could potentially use that money to bring in a proven, not proven Premier League striker, but a young Premier League striker on loan from a Premier League club? I know he's not our player, but I don't know. I wonder if there's better use for the money personally. So
I think the money situation. I mean, our top paid player is Ryan Brewster, and he's played about 2 games this season, man. But yeah, we've got a good youth academy coming through. At Louis Marsh, I would have loved to see him play. Sam Curtis, Ollie Arblaster, Andre Brooks. I think he's been good recently. That Faxon, that goalkeeper, beat Wendy's, right, didn't we, 2-0? Got a very good future at Sheffield United. That new portfolio with Bramall Lane and that, buying the corner. A lot of positive things. Right. It just, as soon as full time gets blown against Tottenham at Bramall Lane on my birthday, actually, it'll be the start of hopefully something good and something new.
Let's hope so, mate. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Yeah, let's do it.
See you later.
Cheers, pal.
Up the blades.
Top man. Cheers, Alls, for your call, mate. We are in good hands long term, I think, in terms of our setup now. You look at the youth academy, there's loads to be positive about. So I am on board with that way of thinking. I'm going to bring in our next caller now. Rich, good evening, mate. How are you doing?
Good evening. I'm all right. You?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. How's the setup going? Good. I can see you this time. I wasn't able to see you last time. You were sat in the dark. I can hear you okay. So the mic is working. We're doing good, mate.
I've gone old school. I've gone old school. I've gone with the phone this time. Been the laptop, been the microphone.
Fail safe. It's what I started on, mate. You never go wrong on a phone. Yeah. Never go wrong. How are you, bud? How are you?
Well, that's what I thought. Well, I was annoying the wife while out shopping, watching the Newcastle game, and it just first 45 minutes should have been 4-1 up, shouldn't we? It were what we can't say is that we haven't lacked the commitment and the excitement, if you want to call it like that. First half against Man U, we were the much better team. Against Newcastle, same again. It's just we can't last 90 minutes. It's all the subs aren't improving us. I know, like you've just said, subs aren't. They are supposed to improve us, but they should be at least a bit better. So yeah, I'm glad it's this week than next week, because the dogs abuse we would get.
I don't think I could cope, to be honest. It was as soon as it was inevitable. I can take it being today rather than next week. So let's get it over and done with. Rip off the plaster early and take it on the chin.
You never know. We might perform like Man City on a good day on Saturday. I doubt it, but
it'd be nice.
Yeah, but no, I watched the under-21s the other night. That was, I think you saw me in the chat saying how polar opposite it is. Our first team are scared of the ball sometimes, and them kids were just it were great to watch, and it was a competitive derby as well.
And they did it without the likes of Curtis, Peck, Macedo. There were some of their regular under-21s who've gone so well from this season, but we've still got players like Ryan Oney, Louis Marsh, like you said, who are going to have a huge future for us. I just think that the future is very bright from youth level upwards, and we're starting to see that bear fruit now with Brooks and Arblaster in the team. I don't know what Sam Curtis has got to do to get a kick, but
I don't either.
I think we've
my only worry with all the under-21s is that we've got the midfield, we've got that spot on, we've got exciting talent coming up front, but it's just the back line. We haven't got anyone. You've got Freckington, who's been at Chesterfield, who's had experience, but apart from that, there's nobody going to sort of come through there in the next couple of years, I don't think.
I need to have a little look at it's Sasnaukas that was captain the other week for the under-21s, the young kid who's been fast-tracked from 18s, and he looks apparently said to be a real prospect. We need some youth coming through. Sorry, Rich, I think we're slightly delayed, and that's probably my signal at my end. But yeah, we do need to fast track some of the defensive options we're going to have. I like Evan Easton. I think he's a decent prospect as well. So hopefully we're having more of a holistic approach to this youth. But like you say, it tends to be more midfield, forwards, even goalkeepers that we're blessed with. We just need some defenders to sort of pad that out, since it's the place that we're suffering with the most in defence in the first team.
Yeah, look, if we could only roll back 12 months where we were one of the meanest defences in the league and all the rest of it, it would have been all right. But I think we can safely say thank you, his name now, defensive coach, for ruining that. And yeah,
oh, wow.
That'll be etched into this season.
Rich, Ollie McBurney, where do you stand on Ollie McBurney?
For me, I would get rid.
Okay.
I think I'm of the opinion he has not done. He's had more chance than Brewster has, but he's still as injury prone as what Brewster is. Everybody's saying we should get rid of Brewster, so I can't see what the problem with getting rid of McBurney is. Yes, we'll have lost out a bit, but if he is not, how can I put this diplomatically? If he is not willing to, if he's wanting to be greedy about a contract, then
yes,
be greedy somewhere else. If you feel like you're going to get that money somewhere else, go and find that club somewhere else. But I feel that
could not.
Yeah, if it's 40 grand a week, for instance, he's wanting to get two hungry youngsters from League One for 20 grand a week, I'll be happy with that. And then you've got a bit more competition in that. But I'm
a mindset for Rich. I'm absolutely the same. I wouldn't be paying two youngsters 20 grand a week, but I know what you're saying.
No,
exactly.
You know,
on a similar healthy contract like that you might get a load more output of. Like a Jay Stansfield, for example, who's on loan with Birmingham at the moment. He might fit in really nicely from Fulham. He's probably on about 20 grand a week. Half
exactly.
Of, if that is what McBurney's after. Is that a better signing? Is that a better player in our team than Ollie McBurney? I would argue yes.
It's a hungrier signing. It's like that. I know it's not in a striker's position, but you've got that. Is it Edwards at Peterborough, who
yes, Ronnie Edwards,
plays in defence? Yeah, he's always been. Whenever I've watched their games, he's always been an outstanding player. Pretty sure Peterborough won't be paying him that sort of money. So it's
right.
we've got to shop cute. When you've got to remember, we've got the blueprint from when Wilder was here last time. When we went up last time, we didn't really spend that mega bucks.
Right.
What did we do? We signed McGoldrick on a free. We had Medine and Hogan coming on loan in January. We didn't actually spend mega bucks, so it can be done. And he has had it was
signing.
One thing from listening to previous rambles, and I would wanted to try and put across, is that previous teams, you used to sort of think, oh yeah, they used to sort of go for a drink after the game and go around such and such's place and be a camaraderie outside of the club. This team doesn't seem to have that.
I agree.
That there's no togetherness with it. What was the saying at the beginning of the season? Outrun, outfight. If you're going to outfight, you need to do it together, not as individuals. And unfortunately, that's where we've gone down this season. It's individuals.
Oh, Rich.
So,
well said, mate. Well said. Anything else you want to cover while we're together?
No. I'll let somebody else go and make sure you don't slap that factor 50 on and Filey and.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I'll be fine from sunstroke, don't you worry, mate. But thank you, Corbett.
No worries. Take care, mate. Up the ramble.
You too, mate. Cheers, mate. Thank you, Rich, one of our platinum ramblers, top lad. Thank you for calling. It's nice to have a catch up with Rich. He hadn't called for a little while. And I tried to get on last week, but ran out of time because we were chocker, I think, with calls. So thank you to everybody that contributes. Michael says, hi, Jimmy, didn't deserve that. If could have finished, would be 4 or 5 up. I think I've read that one. Then I went on to Sid. Joshua is our first new comment. Derby next season. Can't wait. I hope that's sarcasm because I really can wait. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Do. We play with 5 defenders and we're conceding 2s. Don't look good. Go figure. Why do you think David Webster's so negative? Trying to picture Wilder building a team towards the top of the league next season, but I'm struggling. How many times have we been battered? Really concerns me. The names we're linked with also concerns me, says Bean. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Can't wait for the YouTube videos regarding who we keep and who's going, who we would like. That's all we've got to look forward to. Well, thank you, mate, because I love doing those. That sort of transfer speculation is right up my street. Also feel sorry for our travelling fans. Respect. Yeah, our travelling fans are an absolute credit to the club. We seem to be saying it every stream, to be honest. You can always hear them on every time we're away from home. Knowing a few of the away fans, they will be having a good time, whatever the result. The football probably spoils the day, but they'll have a good time. Brooks was appalling today, says David Webster. Tell me what he contributed. Dear, oh dear. I just wish I had your football acumen, David. I don't think I'm qualified to have an opinion if I disagree with you by the sound of it. Wilder's not the man to take us forward, Jimmy. I'm just going to move past this. No, go on. I'll read the rest of it. Conceding 15 goals in 3 games is not good enough. We're a poorer team since he returned. I disagree with us being a poorer team since he returned. I completely agree that 15 goals in 3 games is not good enough. There's no excuse for that. No excuse. And he's the manager. He has to take some accountability for it. Could have been 2 up after 15 minutes, 3 up after half an hour. And that's the thing, isn't it? If that had been the case, it's a completely different game. Played well at times, but way off the pace after that. Just not fit enough. It stands out a mile. Up the Ramble, up the Blades, roll on next season. Wolfie said, check your phone. No, not yet. Not while I'm live. Wilder is utter garbage when it comes to signing players, as proven. Maybe you rephrase that to proven players. Wilder is garbage when it comes to signing proven players. I would argue that he's got just as many positive examples as he has negatives. We can't throw a Ryan Brewster or an Ollie McBurney out at him. Some would argue Ollie McBurney's been a very good player for us. I would push back on that. But the examples going back to, and it does go back some time now, but Jack O'Connell, John Egan, Mark Duffy, John Fleck, Ollie Norwood, George Baldock, Ender Stevens, a lot of these players for nothing, by the way. David McGoldrick, absolutely superstar players for us. We've set some embarrassing records for decades. 101 goals conceded, and there are still 3 games left. Are we at 101 already? Oh, my word. There'll be some strong teams in the Championship next season. Leeds are not likely to get automatic promotion now, says Michael. The Owls are staying up in the Championship. Southampton, Portsmouth, Derby, Hull, Coventry. Oh, final kick in the teeth, their excuse. It was just a tangle of legs, no pen. Shocking. I know. Wolfgang, good evening, mate. Hope you enjoyed Cuba for your honeymoon. I'm not saying this to get a rise, but honestly, everything needs changing. Owner, manager, and half the squad. If we keep Wilder, I honestly think we'll see League One before the Prem again. Poor decisions. See, we can still get on. I can still get on with people when it's a completely different opinion because it's how you phrase it. So that's absolutely fine. Still City Derby. I know. Not a fan. Not a fan. Ben sent me the Brooks miss on Twitter. Thank you, mate. I'll have a look at that very shortly when we're done. We've got another 20 minutes to go, and then I'll jump off. I can't stress enough how much I can't wait for this season to be over, says CJ. Feels sick already at the thought of the derby next season. Ugh, me too. Osborne does a job, but still not good enough. Trusty the clown, get shut. Sousa the pointer. Come on, Chris, get a grip now. I think you will. I think you will in the close season. I think you'll see a lot of turnover, and I think it's needed. Auf Wiedersehen, Prem. You won't be missed. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Nick Cook, one of our platinum ramblers, who supports us on the top tier. So thank you for that, mate. Has just sent us another 20 quid towards the studio. So thank you, mate. Very much appreciated. And you don't have to keep throwing money our way, although it's always appreciated. These lads have only have 50 minutes in the tank. Terrible second half. There are fingers pointing all over Vinny Sousa style at the fitness of these players. There is no excuse for not being fit enough to last 90 minutes. Alessandro says, shout, new ownership is needed. Then the reset has to be conducted correctly. It's open heart surgery and a major clear out is needed. Squad's got to be rebuilt around Arblaster and Brooks. Wow. I agree with that. I agree with the squad rebuild has to be around Arblaster and Brooks and Hamer for me. Sack the board, shoes off, says action location. The owner has pocketed millions upon millions of pounds and put pittance back into the club. I think it's clear now where the investment has gone in terms of the infrastructure of the club. So I'm not saying he's putting exactly what we've got out of the club. I don't understand the finances enough, in all honesty, to give you a full breakdown. So I don't want to defend or jump on either in terms, because I don't understand it enough. It's somebody like Darren Smith that will, admittedly, people will point the finger and say he's so even someone like Kieran Maguire, if that's more appropriate to tell us a full breakdown of what's gone on. But from what I understand, that's not the opinion of financial experts. Derby next season, can't wait. I think we've already said that, Josh, to be fair. What did Wilder do to keep us up? Utterly out of his depth. Clueless, Chris. I wish David Webster was a manager. If he was, I think we'd all be in a better position. From those who started today, who do you want starting the first game next season? For me, it's only Bogle, Hamer, Arblaster. I'd probably back you there in terms of the permanent players, because obviously you'd want Brereton Diaz, I'd want Archer back. But for those who are going to be here next season, Bogle, Hamer, Arblaster. Yeah, because I don't think Anel will be here. So much work to do. How much pressure do you think CW will have at the start? I think, well, I know he's going to be trusted to be the man to sort of shape the rebuild. And with that, you have to afford him some time. And I don't mean it's acceptable to be 13th, 14th, 15th after 10 games, because it's not. But we are effectively renewing a whole squad. At least half of these players will be new, I think. I think that's how big the squad rebuild's going to be. So with that, you need to allow a little bit of time to gel. I would say if we're not in the mix for promotion at around the halfway mark, then he'll be under some serious pressure. As for buyers, do you think the Prince needs to accept that he's not getting the price he wants for the club? He'll be looking to get 150 quid at the moment, let alone 150 mil. I'm not saying you don't. I don't know where that 150 mil's come from, because I don't know the price, genuinely. Not that I would know what is a reasonable price for a Premier League club anyway, or a Championship club now, unfortunately. Absolutely, the price is going to have to come down in the Championship. We're not as valuable an asset. We're not going to get Premier League money. So the price will have to be adapted accordingly to the situation that we're in. Completely agree. But I don't know what the price is. So whether, I know a lot of people are speculating it must be too high because we haven't got a buyer. It might be, but we've got a lot of financial experts now working with the club at what's the right price to set it at and pitching the club to other investors. So we'll see if there's movement on that. I won't be surprised if there is in the summer, to be honest. Keep the gaffer next season, says Josh. That would be my thoughts too, and I think we will. Glad to see the corruption on full show, says Hamer Time. Penalty for them because contact continues into the box, but not for us because it's a tangle of legs. Get us out of this league. Yeah, you can't. Again, I'm not bothered enough now because we're not going to be in it next season to sort of be on the corruption bandwagon. But there's no excuses there. You cannot separate those two incidents. It's the same incident, more or less. It's baffling. Little Showy, good evening, pal. First half, I was impressed. Looked threatening, loads of effort, but obviously we aren't good enough. So take the positives and move on. Clear out, upward and upward. Absolutely right. Now let's help relegate the Scabs. Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? It would and it wouldn't. We've got to be realistic about this. Who would we rather play next season? Forest or Luton? And for me, I'd rather play Luton because they're a weaker team than Forest, if we're being honest about things. And that's just my opinion. But I, for example, would want to nick a Lewis O'Brien from Forest. That's not going to happen if we're in Championship together. But you know that I'm a big fan of Lewis O'Brien, as is my dad. We've talked about him plenty in our rebuild video, early rebuild video that we did. We're not going to get Lewis O'Brien from Forest if we're in the same league. He might even play for Forest because they'll have to sell some of the big hitters. If they stay in the Prem, Lewis O'Brien's sadly going to might get a decent deal on him, might get a loan to buy, something like that. So that's just my opinion. Abdul will sell the club at cup price when he's pocketed all the parachute payments, says Sid. I'm getting more of a anti-Abdullah vibe now, rather than just a genuine sort of this is my opinion. I think it's a little bit more of a issue. Those who don't want to be in the Premier League, pro football is not for you. It's Sunday morning at Concord Park. We should want to be in the Premier League, David. I agree with that. We just can't compete, can we, at the level? It's a crying shame of how football has gone, unfortunately. Nick, again, throwing more money our way. Thank you, pal. Very generous. Finally out of this stinking league. Can't wait for the summer and the rebuild. Me neither, pal. Me neither. And thank you very much for your generosity. But Bournemouth and Brighton survive the Premier League. Yes, they do, because Bournemouth are now significantly financially backed. They've got players such as Solanke, Lloyd Kelly, players that are Premier League players. We haven't got Premier League players. Arblaster will likely become a Premier League player. Brighton have got an owner that just pumps money into the club. They've got a scouting system second to none because of the ownership model, which clubs can't replicate. So there are reasons that clubs historically smaller than us are doing better than us. But you can also argue teams like Leeds, Derby, other clubs that historically have been bigger than us aren't doing as well as us. So swings and roundabouts, pal. Wilder is a terrible manager. Sid, are you a blade, Sid? Or are you just here to go fishing? Fishing with your little rod out. That's not an insult. I just meant like trying to wind me up. Looking forward to the summer now. Loads of exciting things to happen, hopefully. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Absolutely right, pal. I'm looking forward to it too. If we're to come up again in the near future, our last 2 attempts at Prem season have been embarrassing. No excuses if we come up again. The only team I've ever been relegated before a season starts. Absolutely. The only players from this season I'd like to see starting next year are Robbo, Bogle, Arblaster, Brooks, Hamer. Must keep Brereton Diaz. We'll struggle, mate. We will struggle. Happy to see the back end of a lot of players, Norwood, Vinny, and others. It's a shame, innit? It's a shame about Norwood particularly because we can't forget how good he's been for us. And I do think by keeping these players too long, we tarnish the legacy at the club. It happened with John Fleck as well. We have to remember these players, or we have to try and remember what these players have actually contributed to our club. And players like John Fleck and Ollie Norwood have been absolutely brilliant for our club and should rightly go down as legends of the football club. But because of them staying a little bit too long, they'll certainly in the immediate future will not be remembered fondly. And that's such a crying shame. 97 goals so far, far less embarrassing than 101. It's not easy. No, it isn't. It is not easy being a Blade. Let me just double check how we're doing because I am well behind on comments. And I've got about 10 minutes to go. So a very painful season. Let's move on, says John. Yes, please. Completely agree. Good evening, John. I'll still be around next season. Yes, mate. Thank you. Can't wait to support the Ramble again for the Rabble for another year. What's this Rabble? John, you're an absolute superstar, and I could not do this without you. Thank you, mate. Nick with a free comment. That's a joke, by the way. I didn't know what went wrong. We attacked first half, just brought the game to Newcastle, then we just fell to pieces. Exactly. Go and attack the game. Go and attack the game. That's what we want. Also good that Leeds have bottled promotion and Wednesday have started playing well, because tell you what, they'll both batter us next season. Wolfgang, come on. Come on, mate. Ray, good evening, mate. One of our Patreon ramblers. Scary thing is, if we play like this next season, we'll struggle, but hopefully we have a new team, especially defence. It's the defence, I think. We just need to strengthen the defence. We've already got a great defender in John Egan, certainly at championship level, ready to come back in. So I am not as skeptical or scared as a lot of us. Paul says, could have done without all the pundit cliches. Blades blunted. Blades couldn't cut it. Didn't show their metal. Won't miss hearing those tools on the radio next season. A lot of our commentary this season, I don't mean commentary during in games, but I mean like pundits' comments on us have been so lazy. It's been ridiculous. First half of the season, absolutely right. And I think we deserved a lot of the stick that we got. But I think under Wilder, there's been a shift. And there's been very few pundits that have picked up on that. They've just gone with the lazy rhetoric that we've just not been good enough. And I think there's more to it than that. I think it's right. We've not been good enough. There's no getting around it. But it's deeper than that in terms of there's been a shift. You can't see a change just looking at things on paper, but there has been a change. Thomas says, Jimmy, forget the -2. We're +4 points if the Wendy's stay up. Nice, mate. They are the worst games, the worst. But as much as people are saying they're glad to be relegated from the Prem, they know it's the place to be for the lifeblood of the club in terms of finance and to attract the best talent. Absolutely right, it is. Mark says Wilder needs to go. I'm going to try and speed up through some of these comments now. I appreciate everybody commenting, and I will read them all, but whether I get to read them out is a different question. Lots scared about playing the Pigs. Why? Barely stayed up. These are the games we should be living for and looking forward to. Who do you see leaving, Jim? Top work, mate. Sauce for swearing earlier. No problem, pal. Thank you for curbing it, though. Appreciate it. We want to just be inclusive for as many people that can come on as possible. So I am, for one thing, just very quickly, games against your rivals, form goes out the window, and it's a completely different mindset. If we haven't got the right team together, and I'm confident we can have, but if we haven't and we're caught on the hop, then Wednesday could turn us over, even if they're bottom of the league. I also think Danny Roll's a really good manager, unfortunately. I hope he leaves them and they start to struggle again. But if you look at the record since he came in, they'd be something like 7th or 8th, I think. So there'll be no mugs next year if he stays. And we need to have our house in order if we're going to, if we're not going to be embarrassed. You know, I'd rather finish second and beat them than finish first and lose to them, if that makes sense. Good evening, Jimmy. Thanks for the nod. He's garbage. Sack him. No problem, pal. No problem. Different opinions. You're more than welcome to it. Too many injuries throughout the team and season, same as 2020. No ordinary team can survive in that Premier League. Next season, we'll do well with some additions and a takeover. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Keep away from Flamborough Head. Jimmy next year will be a bet. Yeah, we nearly went there today. Listen, there's a comment from Forest that swears, so they're not getting read out. Wilder has my support, but later and the vultures will gather. He has to hit the ground running, says Ray. Absolutely right. Even with 2-point deduction. Thank you, pal. Chirac. Oh my word, Chirac. That you've let yourself down there, pal. Let yourself down big time. And you know, I'm not going to read that out. No goal scorers that are actually ours. Like BBD, that much brought. You bought a Chile shirt today, Sarah. Nice. Nice. But what are you going to do next season? Let's hope he stays for you then. I'd rather keep Burton Diaz than Archer. He's a smaller window with us, but had a greater impact. That cannot be denied. Absolutely right, Alessandro. Utter drivel from your live contributor. Brooks isn't good enough. His idea of a defence isn't good enough. Wilder isn't good enough. You need to be more specific in what you think of Chris Wilder, please, David. Ronnie says he's sick of staying up till 1 a.m. to watch us lose week in, week out. I'm absolutely right. Right. Rich says, evening, Jimmy. Well, that's us down. Would rather have been today than next week, where a first half could have been 4-1 up the blades, up the Ramble. Just says at least there's no more false hope to be distracting. Onward to the summer. Absolutely right. I've got 4 minutes to read about 100 odd comments. It's not going to happen. Thankfully, a lot of them are Forest. I can just skip past. Our fate was sealed long before today, says Adam. Still feels bittersweet. Sense of relief and disappointment. The Premier League has drained me of my enthusiasm and love of the game. Looking forward to enjoying football again. Absolutely right. Me too. There'll be a lot more smiles next season, won't there, hopefully? I'm not saying we're definitely going to be top end at league, but we'll win more than we have done this season. Won't get a result between now and the end of the season. Take the blinkers off. Nothing to come, says Mark. Thing is, with a squad that will probably do quite well in the Championship as it is, so if we get promoted with relatively few changes, chances are Prince Abdullah will do exactly the same thing. Let's have a look. Let's have a look where we are. Difference between Wilder and Hecky, we'll see a decent 20 to 45 minutes under Wilder before capitulation. Hecky was either decent but toothless or crap from the start. New manager needed before next season, says Wolfgang. Oh, no. Sarah biting back at the Forest crew. Right. Dear me. Chirac, I'll read that comment, mate. Wilder, Abdullah plus Wilder equals Division 1. I don't get how some fans revel in negativity and love it. If Baldock stays playing right centre-back, says Rob, and Bogle right wing-back for me, Egan will be a good voice in the dressing room. That's a great shout, actually. It looked like we were going that way at one stage. Nick says he'd take Luke Ayling and Ashley Phillips next season. Got to be better than our current back wipes. On a positive note, how many Premier League goals have the whinging Wendy's scored in the last 24 years? Sweet FA. Correct. Love that. Love that. I bet you could make Hamer a striker, says Nick. I would play Hamer as a 10. Oh, excuse me. 2 more minutes to go, but I think you can play Hamer as a 10 in behind a striker and he would do really well. Does neat little pockets and playing through balls. Love it. Rob says Rodoni from Huddersfield will be a good addition alongside Hamer and Blaster. Brilliant signing, would Rodoni. Yeah, he's on my list. Bogle as a striker, maybe, says Sarah. Maybe. Not for me. Alien is 32. He is. But Bash is 35. Going on 36. And we had him at 34 in the champ. Did a good job for us. Kyle Walker wants to come back to us. Can we get him? No. No, we can't. If we get promoted next season, I think we have a chance. Seen the story of Blaster before under Wilder. A certain goat by the name of Billy Sharp. Blaster will be the new leader. Linchpin for our squad who will epitomise our club. Absolutely right. There's a picture being circulated of our Blaster as a ball boy high-fiving Billy Sharp when he scores a goal. Absolutely brilliant. I'll try and find it for a future Ramble because I think I've shown it before. Little Shoy says, I think McBurney needs to go. Got talent, but not enough effort for me. Sousa needs to go with him. Sousa will go with him. Don't worry about that. Let's see if we can spin past some of these ridiculous comments. Have options on a few. Up the blades. Won't be 16. Will be 9 to 10 signings. Same as in the summer. Yeah, it'll be a big summer for us. Let's be honest. We've been handicapped from day one. Lack of funds, injuries, losing 2 best players. And that's well, 1. Illy. Yeah, that said, we've been rubbish defensively. The summer will give Wilder time to put things right. Though for me, he only gets 1 crack at it. I think he will. I think he probably will. Difference being most of them need to be starters in terms of the players that come in, says Bill. Absolutely right. Right, here we go. I'm spinning on as much as I can, trying to make sure everybody has their sakes officially. I'm now over time. Evening, Jimmy, says Andrew. Have to get behind Wilder this season as done get the summer here. Have a good sort out and take the championship by storm. Absolutely. Me too. Mikado seems to have been about ages, says Sarah. It will be about time he broke through. I think he might get a chance next season, you know. That'd been lovely to see, wouldn't it? Some of these young lads getting a chance in a lower league, or if they can't get out on loan and see how they do in EFL. Oh my God. Big love, Jimmy. Big love to you, Rye. Thank you, pal. One of our platinum ramblers. Very much appreciated, mate. Yeah, we'll be all right. We'll be back, won't we? We'll be back. I can't go much longer. But James is saying, don't think Wilder has won people over yet. His signings this summer and start to the season will be key to uniting the fan base. Great point. Fitness coach wants getting rid of and an early pre-season as necessary. Absolutely right. And Sarah agrees as well. Right. Do you know what? I'm going to call it there. I'm going to finish on Ricky saying, keep Wilder for the rebuild. Let him bring his own players in. See where we are after 10 games. Up the Blades. Up the Ramble. Thank you, Ricky. And thank you to everybody. I'm so sorry. I try my best to get everybody's comments in. But when we've got people that join us for the phone-ins, I want them to have their say as well. So you're all more than welcome to join us for that. We're down. And it's not unexpected. It's also not the relief I thought it might be today, which is daft, really. But thinking that it's been done for some time, when it's officially confirmed, we might actually feel a weight lifted off. I didn't. And that's probably due to the performance in the second half. Just so disappointing, and it reflects our whole season. No stronger does it drive the point home that we need big changes at this club. And the only silver lining is we know they're coming. We know these changes are coming. We know they're necessary. And it's just really whether you are optimistic about those changes with the people that are leading them, mainly being Chris Wilder, but also backed by the board that people have, you know, strong opinions on for or against. And you might be nervous about it because it's Wilder that's leading it. But whether you are or you aren't, we'll be here to talk about it. Whenever there's any rumours to jump on, we will be there. We're going to be back talking about the Forest game, and we'll be in Triple Point as per, but we'll be back with the warm-up to discuss it and get ourselves ready for it. And by that time, maybe we'll think slightly differently. Let me know what you think about today. Anybody that had a chance to have the comment read out or anything like that, I do apologise. Get your comments in. I will make sure I read every single one of them. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the Blades.
Ramble on! Gustavo Homer!